The Seattle Seahawks have their next head coach in Mike Macdonald. Now they got to find an offensive coordinator and fill up this coaching staff. On this edition of Seahawks Today, we will break down the top 7 candidates for the Seahawks offensive coordinator position. You've heard me say on this program over the last few weeks that if you go with a defensive-minded head coach, the OC hire is going to be critical for this Seahawks team to get right. Now, let's set the scene for you here before we dive into all the candidates. There's one in particular that stands out as we received an update today from Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio that Ryan Grubb, the Alabama offensive coordinator, is under consideration for the job. And you may recall, Grubb was most recently the offensive coordinator at Washington, where he worked under Kalen DeBoer, followed DeBoer to Alabama, and his track record was outstanding. I loved what the Husky offense did this season. Before that, at Fresno State as well, working with the likes of Michael Penix and Roma Dunze and others. I mean, this offense was fantastic this season, and I hope Ryan Grubb hasn't sold the house in Seattle yet, because he might be moving back in here relatively soon. Grubb's never coached the NFL, so that is a knock against him, but the way this offense looked, the balance that they showed, the ability to pass and run the football well, they could play up tempo, they could wear you out as well. I think that scheme can work in the National Football League. I like the idea of Ryan Grubb personally. What do you guys think? Who should be the next offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks? If it's Ryan Grubb or if it's somebody else, weigh in the comment section. Let us know who is your guy that you'd like to see in Seattle calling the shots. Next up, we find T. Martin, the quarterback's coach for the Baltimore Ravens. And this is a name that has been talked about in the last 24 hours of potentially a package deal coming with Mike Macdonald from Baltimore. T. Martin has served in a couple of different roles with this Baltimore Ravens coaching staff. Recently as QB's coach, worked with wide receivers before that. He does have play calling experience. He was at USC as their OC at the college level from 2016 to 2018. And Tennessee Vol fans, it's feeling like 98 when you talk about T. Martin, as he was the quarterback when the Volunteers won the national championship back in the day. And I'll say this, with T. Martin, the knock against him, I am of the belief of guilt by association, okay? And you'll look at prior to this year, when the Ravens offense had a real breakout season with Todd Monken calling the shots. Greg Roman was their OC, and the offense was a hot mess, and T. Martin was a part of that. And the receiver room he coached last year may have been the worst receiving room in the NFL. So I have my doubts on T. Martin because of what happened, not this year, but previously with his position group and that Ravens offense there. Another name, Eric Bieniemy, the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator. And personally, this is my favorite guy on this entire list. Eric Bieniemy has done an incredible job, whether it was with the Kansas City Chiefs, won 2 Super Bowls, working alongside Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and that whole shebang there. But then goes to the Commanders this year, and that offense got off to a good start. Sam Howell looked really good for much of this year, and then the train kind of fell off the tracks towards the end. We found out who Sam Howell really was, but it didn't take away from how good of an OC Eric Bieniemy is. And this year, he had something to prove, right? Wanted to go to Washington away from Kansas City to show what he was really made of, that he could be a good play caller, that he could do it without Mahomes and Kelce and Andy Reid, and I thought that it was mission accomplished for Eric Bieniemy. The other thing about Eric Bieniemy that I really like is that his presence, he's the adult in the room. He is not going to be your friend, but he's going to hold you accountable. And with the Seahawks going with a 36-year-old head coach in Mike Macdonald here, who is a player's coach and well-liked and respected, you can let Eric Bieniemy be the bad guy of sorts and hold everybody accountable. Be that good cop, bad cop sort of thing. So not only do I like the football knowledge of Eric Bieniemy and the system that's run, but also his presence. To me, I think that would be a good balance and be a good win for Seattle. What about Eric Bieniemy? Should he be the next Seahawks OC? He's my pick. He's who I would hire. What do you guys think? Y for yes, in for no. Weigh in the comment section and let us know what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose 2 or more players in any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points, passing yards, receiving yards, rushing yards, and more. You can mix and match different leagues, the NFL, the NBA, NHL, and more. For the big game, I got Patrick Mahomes to have more than half a passing yard, Isaiah Pacheco to have more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown, and Christian McCaffrey to have more than 35.5 receiving yards. If all 3 of these hit, we put $20 down. We'll make $100 on Prize Picks. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS for a $100 deposit match. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, proud partner of Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. Next on the list, we find Chip Kelly. And the rumblings about Chip Kelly were that he could be a package deal with Dan Quinn. Now, maybe that leads him to Washington, where Dan Quinn just took that head coaching job today. But obviously, there's some interest in the National Football League. Chip, of course, very familiar with the Pacific Northwest when he was head coach of the Oregon Ducks and did a terrific job taking them to a national championship game back in 2010. Also has NFL experience as well. Former head coach of the Niners, spent a few seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think he's done a decent job with UCLA. And they don't have a ton to work with at UCLA compared to some of the other power programs. Now, I would be surprised if he left a Big Ten job, a conference that's in the now Power 2 of college football, right, to be an NFL OC. But we did already see a power conference coach this week from Boston College leave to be a coordinator in the NFL. So it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. He is a innovator, right? And you're trying to find a fix for this Seahawks offense to get these guys back on track. I think that's potentially what Chip Kelly could do and really branch off Geno Smith and these guys to another step. Another name to keep an eye on, Byron Leftwich, the former Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator, was the OC when the Bucs won the Super Bowl a few years ago with Tom Brady and company. And we saw before that he was an offensive assistant in Arizona. He's been kind of out of coaching for the last year. Took a year off. I would think that he wants to get back in. And this was a guy that was very close to being a head coach just a couple years ago. Turned down the Jacksonville Jaguars job. And now you look at Byron Leftwich. I think that he's got a great resume, winning that Super Bowl title, being the play caller there. But my concern is he let Tom Brady bully him in Tampa Bay. Now, it sounds kind of weird talking about a grown man getting bullied, but hear me out on this, folks. You look back at that situation, and we heard rumblings, heard stories, that Tom Brady would go behind Leftwich's back and change the game plan and change the playbook without Leftwich's knowledge, and that the offense ended up just being a disaster in Leftwich's final year. Now, Brady, I'll say, I think it's it needs to be said that, hey, he is the greatest quarterback of all time. There's an extent that he has a longer leash than some of these other guys do. That's a very fair point. But even with that said, if people know that he can get bullied by Tom Brady, what's to stop other people from doing the same thing as well? I am concerned. Is Byron Leftwich going to take command? Is he going to lead an offense? Especially if you have a 36-year-old head coach here. Is Byron Leftwich kind of the opposite of Bieniemy in this sense? Is Leftwich willing to be the adult in the room? I don't know about that, but I do know that he's a good X's and O's coach. What type of offensive scheme do you want the Seahawks to run? You want it to be a spread offense, West Coast, air raid? What do you want to see? We're going to run the triple option in Seattle? I'm kidding. Although that'd be fun. Let us know. I'm very curious. What offensive scheme do you want the Seahawks to run? Weigh in. Tell me what you think. When the Seahawks hire an offensive coordinator, we're going to bring you a video on the channel, and I need your help. I need 18 of you. So just invite the entire cookout to make sure they subscribe to Seahawks Today for the latest happenings in your favorite team. Got the coaching hired, taken care of. Now we still got to go find an OC, got to go find a DC, special teams coordinator, fill up the staff. We're still talking draft, trades, free agency, and more. This is your Seahawks offseason headquarters. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/SeahawksTV. Josh McDaniels. Oh, boy. Don't cut my head for this one, folks. The former head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders with that just creepy smile. Also was head coach of the Denver Broncos. But he reminds me of Norv Turner in the sense that you can't deny Josh McDaniels is a very good OC. He's just a terrible head coach. And there are some people that are meant to be coordinators and some people that are meant to be head coaches. And that's what Josh McDaniels is. And he's won 3 Super Bowls as an OC. Granted, it was with Tom Brady and had a lot of things going their way in New England. But nonetheless, he is a good OC. I know that he knows football. I know that he knows offense. But, kind of like what we talked about with Byron Leftwich, I question the leadership skills. Because you look at how things unfolded in Las Vegas, even years prior back to Denver. I mean, this is not a leader of men. If I'm hiring Josh McDaniels, I'm telling him that, hey, you got to get it together. You got to follow my lead and do exactly what Mike Macdonald asks. I know he can handle the offense. I know he can call the shots. But can you lead a team? That's another question. Last on our list, Kliff Kingsbury, the former Arizona Cardinals head coach and currently with USC as their quarterbacks coach. He is in a role as a senior offensive analyst, some type of internship of some sort, so he can keep collecting checks from the Arizona Cardinals. But no one's got a better track record when it comes to developing quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, ever heard of him? Caleb Williams, going to be the number 1 pick. Baker Mayfield, he just made a Pro Bowl, former number 1 pick. Oh, and Kyler Murray. Yeah, he's been to a couple Pro Bowls, and he was also a number 1 pick. Amazing resume of who Kliff Kingsbury's worked with. And we don't know exactly what the Seahawks' plan is at the quarterback position long term, but I can tell you this right now. If you are looking for somebody to develop a young quarterback, you're not going to find anyone better than Kliff Kingsbury to do that. That's what he does best. Has the best track record of anybody of developing quarterbacks. And then his scheme, the air raid. I've always been a fan of the air raid scheme. You guys know me. I'm a Big 12 guy through and through. And, I mean, the air raid is my bread and butter. And the air raid has evolved over time. It's not what typically most people think of. Like, hey, we're just going to throw it 50 times a game and play no-huddle, 2-minute offense all day long. Where the air raid has evolved is that we've seen the scheme turn into more balance than ever before, where teams are running the football and also playing complementary football, ball control football, run the ball when they need to wear out clock, try to help out your defense, but still spread teams out too. Kliff's smart enough. He understands that. He could be a great OC and make an air raid scheme work in Seattle if he were to get that chance. What's your confidence level? Or let me ask you this. Who is an OC that the Seahawks shouldn't hire? What's kind of your confidence level they get this right? Because there's some names out there that I'm like, please don't. Please don't. Please don't. Who's somebody they shouldn't hire? Completely just stay away from. Stay away. Let me know in the comments section, and I'll see you next time right here on Seahawks Today.